Republicans to cast Russia votes. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi and other senior Democrats on Friday will announce a new, coordinated strategy to force Republicans to cast votes on issues related to President Donald Trump's and his campaign aides' alleged ties to Russia. Pelosi and senior Democrats on several key House committees will hold a news conference to announce the strategy, which is to introduce a series of so-called resolutions of inquiry, according to a Democratic leadership aide. Resolutions of inquiry are a rarely used tactic for forcing House votes. The resolutions are introduced in the House and request information from the executive branch. The resolutions are referred to committees, and if the committees do not take up the resolutions within 14 legislative days, any member can request a vote on the House floor. Democrats used the technique earlier this year to force committee votes requesting Trump's tax returns. One such measure was defeated by Republicans in a February vote in the House Judiciary Committee. New resolutions of inquiry are set to be introduced in 6 House committees: Transportation and Infrastructure, Foreign Affairs, Homeland Security, Judiciary, Financial Services, and Ways and Means. The Foreign Affairs resolution will deal with Russia sanctions, the aide said, while the Financial Services one will deal with Trump's and his family's finances. The plan is designed to draw attention to Democrats' frustration with House Republican leaders, who Democrats say are not doing enough to investigate Trump's connections to Moscow. The Democratic leadership aide said Republican committee chairmen have refused to sign on to letters seeking information from the Trump administration and pointed to a White House policy, reported by Politico last month, to ignore requests for information signed only by Democrats. The aide said more than 300 requests for information from Democrats have gone unanswered. Instead of defending the integrity of American democracy, instead of holding the Trump White House accountable for its complicity, instead of showing Russia that there will be consequences, the House Republican majority does nothing, Pelosi told reporters on Thursday. Kushner becomes chief target of Democrats' Russia anger. Jared Kushner has become the top target of Democratic outrage over the Trump campaign's ties to Russia, with congressional Democrats ramping up their calls for his security clearance to be revoked. President Donald Trump's son-in-law and close advisor was already in the congressional crosshairs before this week's revelation that he attended a controversial meeting with a Russian lawyer. Trump's eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., and then campaign chairman Paul Manafort also attended last year's meeting, which was pitched as a chance for the Russian lawyer to provide damaging information about Hillary Clinton as part of a Russian government effort to help the Trump campaign. But neither Trump Jr. nor Manafort are currently serving in the White House with a high-level security clearance, and therefore, unlike Kushner, are not privy to sensitive national security secrets. That has made Kushner a top target of Democratic ire. His security clearance must be revoked immediately, House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, D. California, declared on Thursday. Also Thursday, Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz, D. Florida, put forward 2 appropriations amendments designed to strip Kushner of his clearance, but both were blocked by Republicans in party-line votes. Representative Elijah Cummings of Maryland, the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, sent a letter this week to Trump urging Kushner's clearance be suspended pending a full investigation. And Representative Bill Flores, a Republican, urged the president to stop mixing family and politics. I'm going out on a limb here, but I would say that I think it would be in the president's best interest if he removed all of his children from the White House, Flores told a local television station in his home state of Texas. But even before this week's revelations, there were major concerns about Kushner having a clearance. Kushner omitted meetings with foreign officials, including a top Russian diplomat and businessman, on his initial security clearance application forms. He has since updated his forms to include more than 100 contacts with foreign officials, The New York Times reported. One expert in the security clearance application process said she's never seen an employee with such egregious omissions continue to retain a clearance. It doesn't make sense, said Joanna Friedman, an attorney with the Federal Practice Group, who has represented employees seeking security clearances for a decade. We'll have clients who, have $2,000 worth of debt that they did not disclose. They pay it off during the investigation and they still don't get approved for security clearance. Senator Mark Warner, the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, said his panel had received documents from Kushner and would be receiving more. The Virginia senator, whose committee is conducting a wide-ranging investigation into Russia's meddling in last year's presidential election, said he wasn't ready yet to call for Kushner's security clearance to be revoked. But, Warner added, we now have 3 examples of meetings that he omitted or forgot. Senator Ron Wyden, D.R., also a member of the intelligence panel, said he was exceptionally troubled about the Kushner revelations. I do not think in light of what has been discussed that he should be allowed to handle national security matters and materials, Wyden said. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, too, has come under scrutiny for failing to note foreign meetings on his security clearance application. House Judiciary Committee Democrats on Thursday called for review of Sessions' fitness to hold a clearance. But they saved their harshest calls for Kushner. A handful of House Democrats, led by Representative Don Beyer, DVA, began calling for Kushner's clearance to be revoked in April, when it was first reported that Kushner omitted foreign connections on his security clearance application. A month later, the number grew to 50 House Democrats after reports indicated Kushner had attempted to set up a back channel to the Kremlin in one of his undisclosed meetings with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak. Kushner pushed for more aggressive defense of Trump Jr. meeting. Jared Kushner has been pressing other White House aides to more vigorously defend the meeting between Donald Trump Jr. and a Kremlin-linked lawyer that Kushner also attended, but has faced resistance from some of Trump's top press aides, according to 6 sources familiar with the matter. 4 White House officials and 2 outside advisors say Kushner wants the White House to more aggressively push out surrogates and talking points to change the narrative around the latest twist in the Russia scandal. Kushner has said the meeting, which has also further dragged him into the controversy, has a direct impact on Trump's presidency, even if Trump wasn't aware of it at the time. But some of the communications aides, including Press Secretary Sean Spicer, and other senior staffers have expressed reservations. They say it's best to leave it to outside counsel to handle the furor around Trump Jr., and fear inviting further legal jeopardy if Trump aides and allies more forcefully defend a meeting that they don't fully know the details of, according to the sources. The disagreement over strategy illustrates the White House's ongoing struggle to cope with a quickly evolving scandal that has engulfed Trump's early presidency. West Wing aides have had little control as Trump himself has appeared to exacerbate the Russia controversy, including by firing FBI Director James Comey. Some top advisors also have been blindsided by new developments, such as the Russian lawyer meeting during the height of the campaign. After hours of little defense from the White House on Tuesday following Trump Jr.'s release of the email chain setting up the controversial meeting, Kushner spoke with Spicer and Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders. During the conversation, Spicer and Sanders made the case for crafting a longer-term battle strategy, according to White House officials and an outside advisor familiar with the conversation, but Kushner called for full-on combat, according to a White House official. The White House disputed that Kushner had a conversation directly complaining to top communications officials about the Russia scandal defense. These conversations simply did not happen and Jared did not raise a single one of these points besides saying thank you to everyone for their continued hard work, the White House said in a statement attributed to Spicer, Sanders, spokesman Josh Raphael and other White House aides including Raj Shah, Jessica Ditto and Lindsey Walters. A source close to Kushner, Trump's son-in-law and a top White House advisor, said that while he doesn't have an exact plan for an overall Russia response, he has been angry that there wasn't a more robust effort from the communications team. Kushner has wanted them to complain about chyrons on cable news, call reporters to update stories with White House statements, and unleash surrogates immediately. He has been angry that there were no talking points offered to surrogates, the source said. One senior administration official suggested that 2 aides from the communications shop be dedicated to updating chyrons. Jared didn't like the idea, he wanted people to get aggressive, said an outside advisor familiar with the matter. Jared's the guy who is rushing the front lines, and other people are saying, see, wait, hold, and let's get a battle strategy. Jared wanted to get surrogates. He wanted an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, and we said, wait, we have to talk through how that will play out. Who is going to say it? Who is going to put their name on the op-ed, and what baggage do they have? The outside advisor also said. While some in the White House have argued that this is an outside legal issue since Trump Jr. does not work in the White House, Kushner has said if the story affects the president, it's a White House issue. So far, the White House has offered a limited defense of the June 2016 meeting, which Trump Jr. set up after a publicist for a longtime Trump business partner offered a meeting with a Russian government lawyer who could give incriminating materials on Hillary Clinton as part of Russia and its government's support for Mr. Trump. Trump Jr. then included then-campaign chairman Paul Manafort and Kushner in the meeting, which has raised further questions about collusion between the Trump campaign and Russian officials. White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus on Sunday defended the meeting as a nothing burger, while top advisor Kellyanne Conway hit the morning shows on Monday to forcefully say there was no collusion. But the effort has since fallen short of a full-throated defense, with Sanders holding off-camera briefings to deny any wrongdoing while referring questions to outside counsel. Kushner, who has his own spokesperson, has been frustrated about the level of pushback on the overall Russia controversy since former FBI Director James Comey's firing in May. He's been calling for a reorganization of the communications shop, according to two White House officials, and has directed some of his ire at Priebus, because many of the people in that office were brought into the White House from the Republican National Committee, where he was chairman. He's been legitimately speaking about that for months. That's why he got his own PR person, said the senior administration official about the need for a more forceful approach to tackling the Russia controversy. After the first foreign trip in May, Kushner even devised a strategy with 6 different buckets for dealing with offensive and defensive communications. But some White House officials have purposefully taken a step away from the issue, as they don't want to implicate themselves legally. Knowing less is more in the White House, aides have said. That's the other problem, is that some of these staffers can't afford lawyers. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. How is Deputy Press Secretary Lindsay Walters going to pay for that? How could Spicer pay for that? The outside advisor source said. Another outside advisor said the whole point of having an outside team of legal advisors to handle these issues is to inoculate and insulate the staff from any possible legal exposure. That advisor said Spicer has privately griped about the demands from Kushner. Meanwhile, some senior staffers like Conway and Sebastian Gorka have been more forceful in battling for their boss on cable news each day. Conway appeared on Wednesday night on Fox News with a white paper with the word collusion, that she subsequently crossed out. This is to help all the people at home, she said. What's the conclusion? Collusion? No. We don't have that yet. I see illusion and delusion.